Hello. Do you want to learn how to master your emotions so that your emotions stop mastering you? You are in the right place tonight. So, we've been talking about some main points of things you'd like to master to create a life that you're enjoying, right? And those are mastering our thoughts, which we have talked about in previous meetings. And the second big one is mastering your emotions. Mastering emotions helps us master our life because our lives are experienced through emotions. Everything that happens in our life, every memory that we have, um, is superseded by what emotion did it evoke in us. And we all have our own past and our own histories and our own experiences, which means that we're all kind of experiencing this life very individually. Even though we may have shared experiences, it could mean one thing to one person and something completely different to another. Mastering our emotions is one of those skills, though, that really helps you take control of the experiences that you're having. So, what do I mean by mastering your emotions, right? So, for me, one of the things I used to struggle with was um, something would trigger me. Okay. So, say I witnessed somebody being disrespected or I felt disrespected, I would get like really emotional about it. Like my whole body would tense up and I might get like sick in my stomach, being like, how could this be happening? Like, how dare that person act like that? Right. And I would really internalize those feelings that they're being mistreated and that's not okay. Right. And I would just let it eat me up and eat me up. And then I learned, though, that recognizing like that emotion in the moment, that's what we talked about before too. Like it was like a surface feeling, a surface pain. Like it's in the moment and it can be intense, but it's coming from somewhere deeper. So two things happened actually with this very specific situation. One, I learned to treat um, that initial trigger of like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? How is this happening? And it should not be happening, right? And I'd embrace that emotion as it's happening and decide like, whew, okay, I don't have to um, feed this feeling. Can take a breath, recognize like, whoa, I'm feeling like this is just an injustice, really, like somebody's being treated poorly. And then I can if it's at my place and depending on the severity, you know, I just have to accept what's happening and then take an action to either say something to stand up for myself or someone else or walk away from this situation completely. And that's an action I can take in that moment and I can disconnect from it because I don't have to take on the emotion that I'm feeling. So even if somebody was being unjust to someone else, I don't need to fuel the interaction and I don't need to embrace all of those emotions and let it keep me upset for like the next hour. I can be present with the situation, let that feeling wash over me, walk away and be like, wow, that was something. And then just let it be because unless there were um, like consequences to it and it was just a passing thing, I don't need to carry that around with me for the rest of the day. Then there's a deeper emotion with that. And that's what I needed to really get in touch with. And so that's something we could talk about another time because I could probably talk about that for like 3 hours right here tonight, right? How to deal with that. But you want to get to the deeper issue, like why am I so triggered by that situation, and why is it um, getting me so riled up, right? So that's something that we could talk about later. But for the most part, what I've learned to do is just what I said. I notice what's happening. I notice the feelings that I'm having, and then I make a decision in the moment. How am I going to respond right now? That doesn't make it worse. Take a deep breath. Wow, that was something. and walk away in total peace with the rest of my day. So, Debbie, I'm sure you have a great empowering story for us about how you mastering your emotions have changed for you as we've gone through this process.
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm going to talk about taking a deep breath as well on mine. So we didn't even talk to each other, and yet we are having the same emotion or talking about the same thing, right? Which is taking a deep breath. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is as a right from when I was a child, and this is something, sometimes we don't even realize what we're doing. We don't even know where it's coming from. But what was happening to me is I was pushing down all the emotions. I kind of came from, for me, a suck it up princess kind of environment. And that was fine. And that was very much the way it was in the day when I was growing up. It wasn't anything unusual. But what happens there is I ended up pushing down some of those emotions. And so, as I would try and get in touch with my emotions and understand my emotions, which you need to do to master your emotions, I was having a hard time with some things because I didn't even realize it was there. And it was actually breathing and deep breathing in a certain environment that actually helped me to get in touch with those deep emotions and understand triggers that were coming up that I didn't even know were there. And it was a very interesting experience. We had a facilitator that was doing it, which is what we needed. And as we went through the breathing and you followed the breathing technique, all sorts of things started coming up that if I didn't go through the experience, I would never believe it. But your breathing is really important. And so, what I learned is that when I was little, because we were in that environment of suck it up, princess, I wasn't getting the emotional, I guess, connection that I was hoping for. And as a result, I was pushing all that stuff down. And I have now learned not to push that stuff down. And I've also learned to deal with those emotions that I had pushed down when I was a child. So it's really important to make sure that we are in touch with our emotions. And so this has been a real learning experience for me. So we are going to talk a bit about breathing techniques and just how important they are as one of the tools that you can use to master your emotions. And Deb, I think you're going to start off and talk about, emotional awareness as the first topic for today.
Yes. So, and I kind of touched on this before in my intro and what mastering our emotions entails, right? So, first, you need to have emotional awareness and have the ability to identify what emotion you're feeling. Um, and so, you want to feel your emotions. Emotions are like that is experiencing life. Everything we are experiencing, whether you could be like, I'm bored, right? So you're feeling, I'm not really having an emotion, or um, just disengaged, like this isn't relevant right now, right? But you're still having an emotion. Now, when we have strong emotions of happiness, fear, of being betrayed, right? It's really important that we allow ourselves to recognize what we're feeling because those emotions are then going to kind of guide your actions. And what are you going to, like, what are you going to do from here? And if you could allow yourself to become aware, um, specifically of like the patterns with your emotions, like what are some things that you're feeling very like frequently, right? And if they're negative emotions, those emotions may guide your thoughts to negative thought patterns, and then you may start acting on those thought patterns And that's very disempowering for everyone when you do that to yourself. So, learning to master your emotions, identify what you're feeling, identify the source of that feeling. Like, why am I feeling this way right now? Letting it flow through you, like it's kind of like an acceptance of it. And then learning to release it and trust that your emotions are also kind of like guidelines for us, right? Whenever we're having really strong emotions, especially, they're there to tell us something. Obviously, you're having emotions on a current event based on your previous life experience. So it's conjuring up some feelings from your past. And it's important to recognize that, like, wait, that thing happened in the past, and that kind of event really upset me. So you want to learn to process this event as this event. You don't need to bring your whole past into it and everything you've ever known and be like, see, here we go again. This is the same thing that happened then. And okay, calm down. It doesn't need to mean all of that. And as you learn to master that process of identifying your emotion, feeling it, and letting it go, you really start to control your life because you're then going to control your thoughts, which are then going to control your actions in your life. And you're just going to end up going through life with a lot more joy. So we have to trust um, that our emotions are guiding us based on past experiences. And what our body learns to do is react to a certain situation a certain way. So, like I talked about earlier, when I feel like somebody is being unjust, I can get really, really upset, or I can simply take action in the moment to remove myself from the situation, stand up for somebody else in a situation, but I don't need to let it fully take over me. And I can also, I've learned like appreciation for other people's bad moments. It doesn't mean I need to tolerate them, but I can have a little bit of empathy for them and be like, whew, they're having a rough time right now. Um, you're not going to say out loud, hey, good luck with that. I hope you get some help. But I can walk away with the true intention of sending, like, whoa, okay, that person's really struggling right now, but I can't intervene here because it's beyond what I'm willing to expose myself to, and I can walk away. Or if really necessary, I could hold space for them to share what's going on. Because if it's somebody close to me, I might even say that, like, hey, I can see you're really struggling right now. Let's take a minute and then come back and talk about what's happening here, right? Because we do want to help them express their emotions and let them know your emotions are fine. The way you're acting, we need to take 5 and calm down, but I can hold space for them to express what they really need to. And a huge part of this whole process is learning that every event can lead to gratitude. And I know you're saying, like, what? How could I be grateful for someone hitting my car in the parking lot with a grocery cart or taking the last bagel out of the kitchen when they know that's my favorite, right? How can I be grateful for those? And those are some really little things. But you know what they do? They teach us patience, they teach us empathy, and they teach us that we can control our emotions. And if we can start controlling our emotions with really what I would consider kind of insignificant things, like that person cut you off in traffic. It's rude. It's whatever. You don't know their circumstance, but it's frustrating. But if I can just accept that I'm frustrated and be like, maybe they really need to be where they're going more than I need to be where I'm going right now. Good luck, right? And just let it go. And then life's gonna give you more to deal with, and that's okay. But we learn to deal with the what I like to consider, and I believe our mentor Peter Sage says, are what we consider better quality problems. So Basically, that's the goal. Just master your emotions, master your life. Your problems aren't going to go away, things happening aren't going to go away, but you get better at just handling them all. So that is my take on your emotional awareness. And
Yeah. And it's so true, right? Is that we are here on this earth to learn, to grow and contribute. And so as you're able to master your emotions and show your maturity, you will get maybe bigger problems, maybe bigger whatever, but I mean that it's all take it as an opportunity to grow, which is what we're here, and to contribute, which is what we're here on this earth to do, for sure. And I love what you said, and I can resonate, for sure. And I can think of, holding space for somebody who is being emotional, because sometimes when you're emotional, can't always, if you let it go long enough, this is why we want to master our emotions, because if you let it go to a certain point, there is no coming back. You are caught in the middle of a vortex, and you can't work your way out of that. But if you are on the fringe and you can catch yourself before you get in the middle of that big vortex, then you can release that feeling. And like you said, then you end up in joy. But one of the things that we can do for sure to help us with mastering our emotions and managing them is to deploy or employ some breathing techniques as some really powerful tools to help with managing emotions and reducing stress. And proper breathing can actually calm the mind, lower our anxiety, and improve our overall well being. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can do that. And I'm just going to give a little tiny story about how I use breathing techniques, not the big, revelation about what happened in my past and all that, but just, when I had a one day, I've when I feel kind of getting anxious or frustrated, or these emotions are starting to take grip on me, what I'll do is I'll actually do a breathing technique. So I just will close my eyes and maybe breathe 10 times and then open. And it's amazing how you can reset very quickly because of that. So breathing actually techniques will actually help you to regulate your emotions. When you control your breathing, it helps stabilize your mood and helps reduce the intensity of those emotional responses. And it also helps to reduce the stress and anxiety. So, a slow, deep breathing will activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes relaxation and counteracts the stress response. And why the parasympathetic nervous system? That is actually part of our autonomic nervous system, which basically controls our bodily functions, and it is not something we consciously can direct. So when we can control that, we can get into a rest and digest state, and we can slow our heart rate down with our breathing. So this is all good. Breathing will also help us to have focus and clarity. It will help increase our supply of oxygen to our brain, which needs oxygen. And so that will enhance our cognitive function and also our concentration. It will enhance our physical health, because breathing, can help by doing a breath work practice. You can lower your blood pressure, you can improve your heart rate variability, and you can have overall better cardiovascular health. And breathing is essential for survival, because oxygen is the number one nutrient that we need in our body. So we can only survive for a few minutes without oxygen, unlike food and water. So we can go for days without water and weeks without food. But try how long you can go without oxygen. It's not very long, before you get into trouble with brain damage, and then eventually you can't survive. So what can we do? So here's a few breathing techniques that you can deploy, or use. One is diaphragmatic or abdominal breathing. So if you sit yourself down on a comfortable chair, you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your abdomen. Inhale through your nose. And what you want to do is feel your abdomen rise, but your chest stay where it is. And that will get the diaphragm and diaphragmatic breathing going. And then you want to exhale slowly through your mouth and feel your abdomen fall. So that would be diaphragmatic or abdominal breathing. You can look at box breathing, which is basically a square. And what you do is you inhale for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 4, and inhale always through your nose, because our nose and our is where we get the right energy and the right oxygen levels going into our lungs. It triggers the whole system working properly. But then you want to exhale through your mouth. So get used to inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. So count of 4, inhale through your nose, hold for 4, exhale for 4 through your mouth, and then do that all over again. Another one is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, which you can, again, inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for 7, and then exhale for a count of 8. And then again, rinse and repeat. Do it over again, maybe 3 or 4 times. And so this is going to help you to relax, manage your stress, and can help. This one can actually help you in falling asleep as well. So if you're having trouble falling asleep, try some breathing techniques. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Deb, I think you've done this one before, the alternate nostril breathing, where you sit comfortably in a chair and you will use your right thumb to close your right nostril, breathe in through your left nostril, then close your left nostril and breathe out through your left nostril. And then you can inhale with your right nostril, and then exhale with your left nostril, and do an alternating with that. And what that does is it helps us with our hemispheres. We got a right and a left hemisphere in our brain, cross over that hemisphere. And so it helps to reduce our stress and help with overall respiratory function. And so when you're doing your breathing techniques, start by finding a quiet place, somewhere calm that you won't be disturbed. Be consistent. Do it in as part of your daily routine. If you need to at first to remember, put an alarm on so you remember to do it. Start small. You don't have to start with all this big stuff. Just take a few minutes out of your day, and you'll become more comfortable. You could combine it with other practices, like if you do yoga or meditation or mindfulness, add that into your day. And you could even do it while you're walking. And then listen to your body and see how your body responds to the different techniques, adjust accordingly, and find out which ones you like. And if you become lightheaded or uncomfortable, then stop it and then resume your normal breathing. And I've done it deep breathing where I actually got to a point where my brain is tingling and it feels so cool, so much to our oxygen coming in. And if you can think of your breathing as an anchor, so just as the anchor stabilizes a ship, when it's in the waves, controlling your breathing can help you stay grounded and centered despite any emotional storms that you may encounter. And by mastering your breath, You will navigate through the stress and anxiety with greater ease and resilience.
I love that, Debbie. So I don't believe I demonstrated the left and right nose breathing, but it exactly took me back to our brain.
Oh, that's right, the
That's
crossover
what I
thing.
was doing, the crossbody. So here the breathing will be incorporated with our crossbody exercises and connecting our hemispheres. So multi-purpose breathing. I love it. Really good stuff there. I really like that. Um, I did have a question and now I lost it. Oh, I just wanted to bring back in there. You were saying though that when we when we control our breathing, we take the time to do this breathing, that the parasympathetic par,
Parasympathetic nervous system.
thank you.
That's a
That's
mouthful.
yes, it is. And that's the nervous system that like it's what I would call like it's functioning on its own.
Mhm.
Like we don't have to consciously think. Just like breathing, we don't really think about breathing all the time. Our bodies are going to breathe whether we think about it or not. But if we concentrate on our breathing and increase our oxygen levels, you're saying that part of our body will just automatically kind of function better. Okay.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
your
I'll make sure I
autonomic, so your parasympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic nervous
understand.
system, which is basically controlling bodily functions. So it will, not something we consciously do, but it's controlling our breathing, our heart rate, and our digestive processes. And so it's actually the parasympathetic nervous system is sometimes called the rest and digest system. So it helps us to conserve energy at the lowest level and lowest heart rate, and helps us with our digestion and intestinal tract and all that stuff. And
Okay,
so it
so
can, yeah. So this is where the breathing can help us in that, just kind of, helping our autonomic nervous system to slow down, right?
okay.
Does
That
that
sounds
help?
awesome. Yeah, it did. Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that part of what you were saying. I know most of this, but
Yeah, that's a new one for us.
yes.
For
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to finish up with our third tip for mastering our emotions, and that is mindfulness. And a lot of people, I've heard people say, like, I'm not doing this mindfulness stuff isn't working for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure you quite understand what mindfulness really is. Like I think that they confuse it with being grateful when things aren't going well, or just saying positive things to yourself when you know like something's horrible. So, um, say you did wreck your car, right? And in the moment, you're gonna be like, oh, this is great. This is great. This is great, right? Okay, that's not gonna help you in the situation. If you do want to think of some positive things, but you need to also be honest with yourself, right? So, saying to yourself, take a deep breath. I was scared for a second. Everybody's okay. All right, I can let down that guard and I can let that emotion pass. Now I might be feeling frustrated, right? Okay, nobody did this on purpose. Nobody's out to get you. Accidents happen. It's okay. We will be okay, right? I'm not excited about it, but it will be okay. And so being mindful and having mindfulness is like, now this also correct me up, Debbie. We do not talk. I mean, we discuss what we're going to talk about. We do not, and that's it. And we get on here like 5 minutes before we go live, and we go, "You ready for yours? I'm ready for mine." Anyways, you were talking about the stormy sea, right? And how to stay calm. And I was going to say that if you can imagine your mind as a vast ocean, okay? And you see your mind as this ocean that is sometimes serenely calm, right? No ripples, just smooth and beautiful, right? And sometimes It's stormy. Well, mindfulness is like the lighthouse to the ocean. It's the guiding light. If you can be really present and master your emotions, recognize, yes, I'm feeling this. Okay, it's rational to be feeling this right now. Or it might not be rational to be feeling this right now. Either way, you're not judging yourself. You're not choosing that. You're saying, I'm feeling this anger, frustration, sadness, joy. What am I feeling, right? Breathe it in. Okay. Being mindful is having a lighthouse that you can look to guide you through those moments. And as we know, a lighthouse prevents ships from crashing on the shore, and it will also help us from spiraling out of control with our emotions, either elation or sadness, right? And kind of maintain a little bit more of a steady feeling. So um, it keeps you grounded. That's the point of mindfulness. So how can you practice mindfulness though? Like, what are some ways to practice mindfulness that can help keep you grounded and let you know it's all going to be okay? First of all, daily gratitude. This isn't saying that in the moment, like I wrecked my car and I'm going to say, oh, great, today was great because I wrecked my car. No, you could be grateful that everybody was okay. You could be grateful that you have insurance that will pay for the damages. You can be grateful that the other person has insurance and their insurance is going to pay for the damages and your premiums won't go up. Um, it's finding gratitude in all of the events, though, that happen, right? Um, a and I would recommend that we've talked about this before, Debbie and I, keeping a gratitude journal so that every day you're ending your day or starting your day. You could do both. You could do one or the other. But gratitude journaling is just a reminder that there is always, always, always something to be grateful for. And when you're grateful, it's easier to stay in a present state and being present with what's happening right now. Another way to practice being mindful and present in the moment is breathing, as Debbie said, and she went over lots of different ways that you can practice breathing to keep you present with what's happening in the moment. Another tool that you could use is full body senses. Now, your body is going to respond usually to situations, possibly even before you're aware, like consciously, of something happening. And um, how do I explain this? It's like when you get afraid before you go into a dark room that you're not familiar with, or the feeling like you're going to go in a haunted house, right? You're going to get nervous. What's going to happen, right? You don't know, but you're afraid because you're supposed to be afraid. And in your past experience, scary things are on the other side of the curtain, right? And your body, though, knows situations so well that it starts reacting maybe before you're aware of a situation. So learn to trust your instincts and respond appropriately to them. Some other things you can do is mindful walking. So go outside, take a walk, breathe in the air. What are you noticing about that tonight? Like a lot of times for me, even in summer, winter, it doesn't matter. I can tell if somebody's having a cookout or, oh, somebody's burning. Oh man, I wish I was better at wood names. But like, oh, somebody's burning pine wood, or oh, that's not pine, that's cedar, right? I don't think anybody burns cedar, Feeble. But I noticed the difference in the wood, and I'm like, oh, that's a different kind of wood they're using. I can't name it, but I can appreciate it though, right? Um, take a walk barefoot in the grass sometimes, get yourself really grounded. So much research done on the benefits of that. Mindfulness in your eating. You know, Debbie, she could talk to us for probably a whole week about that because she's such an expert on it. And it's awesome though, because you do want to be aware, like, what am I eating? Why am I eating this? Am I nourishing my body or am I just doing it out of boredom or not feeling great, right? But be mindful with your food. and because you want to cherish your body. And meditation is another way. And that's something, again, we could talk about for hours, but meditation doesn't have to be um, a big secret, this huge um, undertaking. Meditation can just be a couple moments of quieting yourself and just like, even just saying, like, what am I going to do now? Right? Like, say something did happen, right? And you just pause and say, what am I going to do now? And then just sit. Things will come to you if you allow them. So, being mindful ultimately means just being present in whatever moment is happening. And if you can practice mastering your emotions, getting you to this place of mindfulness, you're just present throughout your day and the different parts of your day and the different roles that you play. And it brings you to a place of joy because happiness is fleeting, but joy springs eternal when you learn to master your emotions. So I hope that that is some helpful and guiding information so that you can be your own lighthouse.
Yeah, good stuff. I love the mindfulness, and I'm glad that you brought up mindful eating as well, because I mean, all of it is really important. That's for sure.
Yeah,
We
yes.
shouldn't, and the more present and mindful you can be, the better you can master your emotions. So, what we've talked about today is mastering emotions. We talked about emotional awareness, talked about some breathing techniques that you can use to help you master your emotions and get in touch. And we also talked about mindfulness practices that you can do to also stay in touch. And what we'd like to say now is that we are actually going to be hosting a Create a Life You Love workshop on Saturday, June the 15th. So, not this upcoming weekend, but the next weekend at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you would like to be part of making sure, it's one thing to have in your rattling around in your head some thoughts about where you want to go with your life, but if you want to really create a life you love, you need to sit down and figure it out, write it down, and really be present with that exercise as a starting point. And so, if you want to look at how you can create a life you love and write down where you want to go in the next year, then you need to join us for our Create a Life You Love workshop next Saturday, the June the 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you want to do that, then either DM either of us, send us, get in touch with us, and we will get you registered and get you the information on how you can join our workshop. And on that note, Deb, I don't know if you have any other parting thoughts, but
I
we can
don't.
close
Just
up.
thanks for everyone joining us. And hopefully, we left you with some useful tidbits of actionable steps to take there. And I look forward to seeing all of you next Wednesday as well.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.